folks, welcome back to the Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. My name is VooDoo Val, and I am learning the definition, the true definition of the word chunk this morning. Welcome in, everybody. It's so good to see you. Again, my name is VooDoo Val, and I'm going to be your host for challenge number 4 of the Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. I see Gareth in the chat, Susan, Afrosia, Anki, Andreas, Clarissa, Robert, Frank, General Kenobi. Hello there. Sean, Bliss, Jennifer. It's so good to see all of you folks. I saw Annika in there. I saw Sam in there. Clever, Ted. Thank you all for joining me this morning. If you are wondering who the heck I am greeting and saying hello to because you don't see those names in your chat, it is probably because you were over on the YouTube channel. Please come over to behance.net/live because that's where I'm going to be reading the chat. That's where all the memes are. That's where all the cool folks are. So come on over and we are going to dive into, yes, you still need challenge number 2. I'm going to be recording it this weekend. It should be up. Either today or this weekend. It should be up and ready for you folks. I will post when it is up, so you folks will not miss it. So don't worry, it is coming. I'm going to jump into the kind of landing page and show you folks how you can get started with me today, and then we are going to dive into it. You guys are killing me this morning. So let me pull this up right quick and pop over to the page so I can show you folks what we're doing today. This is the landing page for the Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. You'll know you're in the right place because it will say January 3rd to January 28th. If you don't see that date, but you're watching this video, you can scroll all the way down to the bottom and see all of our archived challenges, and you can find the proper date and dive into it. You get a little 1 through 4 of how everything works, and you'll see that every single day, early in the morning, Pacific time, we will unlock one of these challenges for you. And today is the Chunky Colors, the Chunky Colors challenge, which is why everyone in the chat is saying chunk this morning. I will confess to you that the first time I created the starter file for you, which you can download if you hit get started, I accidentally wrote the word chunk and then realized I can't do that. So thank you all for making the chunk dreams come true in the chat, and let's jump into it. So again, if you press this get started button, it will bring you to the starter file, which you can download. And in that starter file today, we are using another wonderful Adobe font called Juniper. If you guys want to download Juniper, it should auto-download it for you because you will have the starter file with the font in the text in the file. But if for whatever reason that doesn't happen, you can come to adobefonts.com and go ahead and activate this font, and you will have the exact font that I'm using for today's challenge. So let's jump into it. Challenge number 4, design a social media post with chunky, colorful elements. Try using color replacement to quickly create multiple iterations. So we're going to do kind of a retro vintage kind of look today. I'm going to go through how to create some very interesting shapes, things that you can use to decorate and design this post. We're going to do a little bit of masking, and we're also going to like kind of dive in a little bit to the alterations of text and waving our text and fonts, sort of like we did yesterday, because I would like to show you kind of an interesting trick that I like to do sometimes with that feature. So anyone else lose sound? Did you guys lose sound? Can you guys hear me? Let me know, because it looks like Cheryl is having trouble in the chat hearing me, and I want to make sure that everybody can hear me. Can you guys hear me? Let me peek over and make sure nobody is giving me an emergency message on the Slack, because that would be unfortunate. You hear me? Okay, cool. All right. It might just be Cheryl. Maybe someone can let Cheryl know that she should try to refresh. All right, so in this starter file, you will see over here on the right-hand side, we have our layers, and in that layers panel, we have our background in the challenge 4 folder, which is just a, just a flat color background. We've got some shapes, as you can see. They're very faint back here, but I've got some shapes in the back that just kind of add a little more pizzazz to this. Pizzazz is serious business, folks. You need pizzazz. And then we have content um, folder here, which is just, where the placeholder text is and where these little frames are. And then I have the info, which is just the title and the description. So I'm going to reuse and utilize some of the elements that we have already in here, just some of this placeholder decorative design stuff. And I'm going to do that because that's the easiest way to do this. And all of you will have these same elements, so it'll be easy to do. So the first thing I am going to do is I'm going to create kind of an interesting wavy title for the top portion of this post. And this is going to be something, let me go ahead and hide this. This is going to be something that honestly, if we were not working in a 30-minute space of time, I would probably put a little more effort into making look clean. But I think that if I do this real quick, that you folks will get the gist of the technique, and I think that you will enjoy it. So what I'm going to do real quick is I might use this chunky color post text. I'm going to go ahead and Control T or Command T if you were working on a Mac, and I'm just going to bring this up above everything. I'm going to hit T on my keyboard to make sure that I am using my text tool, and like we did yesterday, I'm going to come into this style and I'm going to go ahead and go into flag, because I really like this, this longer kind of arching text. Yesterday we did it with a couple of words and they were very short words, but doing it with a phrase really makes it look super cool. And you can kind of bow that even more if you want, and you can do it to the left or to the right. So I like to do this because it starts out on this side of our phrase and it goes up and then down. But if you wanted to, you could do it this way so that it goes down and then up. But I think for readability, especially because we are writing in English today, and maybe this technique would look a little different if you choose to use a different language. But in English, I think starting high on the left and going down to low on the right is better for readability. So I'm going to choose to do this direction, and I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And then I am going to add some lined elements around this. And the way that I'm going to do that is a little odd, maybe, but it works for me. And maybe it'll work for you too. So I'm going to select on a layer that is underneath our chunky color post. I'm going to come over to our triangle tool or our shape tool. You can hit U on your keyboard if that works better for you. I'm going to grab rectangle and we're going to make lines. And the reason why I've chosen to use the rectangle tool to make lines instead of the actual line tool is because for me personally, I really like to be able to say, okay, here's a line. I like this line, but maybe I want this line wider and I can just make it wider. It works for me. I like it better that way. So I'm going to go ahead and make myself a line exactly as wide as I want it. And I'm going to turn the stroke off of that line, and I am going to, wait, did I, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, I want to make sure we turn the stroke off of that, hit the fill, and I'm going to go ahead and select this red color because I want it to be the same color as everything we're doing. And what I'm going to do is zoom in here, and I'm using the Control plus and minus buttons, or Command plus and minus if you were on a Mac, because it's very easy to zoom in that way. And I'm going to go ahead and just duplicate this with the Control or Command J shortcut, and I am going to create myself some duplicates of my line, and I'm just going to duplicate it in little intervals until we get down and kind of fill this space. And it might look a little odd, but we're going to do some masking and I think it's going to look pretty cool. So I'm going to select all of these rectangles just by clicking the topmost layer that I want to select, holding shift, and clicking the bottommost layer that I would like to select. I'm going to group those together with Control or Command G just to group them. And I am going to Control or Command J to duplicate that group and Control Command T to free transform. And I'm going to bump this over here, and I've got my guides going if you participated or were at least listening to some of the previous challenges. We were talking about aligning things, and I am using my alignment tools just to kind of keep this looking cool here, all aligned, nice and pretty. And I'm going to edit some of these real quick because I want to make sure that there is enough little lines in between here to do exactly what I want. And I'm going to grab this, and I'm actually going to, if it will allow me, just drag these over here. Okay, so I've got my lines, all right, and this might look a little strange, but now what we're going to do is close these groups. I'm going to select both of them, and I'm going to right click and say convert to smart object. So now I just have these lines in here, okay? And what is going to happen now is I'm going to come over to our chunky color post. I'm going to double click it, which will open up our layer styles. And I'm going to add a stroke to this. I'm going to click stroke, and I do have the color of my background selected here. And so what this does, and again, this is where it comes in where I said, you know, I do want to do this as clean as possible, but I'm not going to be precious with it because we are with limited time. Let me actually open that up again. Let's open up our effects panel. Actually, I'm going to hit F on my keyboard just to come into a different view of Photoshop here so that I can move my canvas around, and then we'll reopen this. So there we go. Now we can kind of see everything. And I am going to come into this stroke, and I might turn this size up just a little bit, maybe something more like that. Basically what I'm trying to do is I'm going to create myself a mask here with all of this, but I'd like to mask with the lines kind of following the edge of the text here. The only thing with doing it this way is you kind of need to noodle with it so that you don't get too many chunks and things like these little curve points here. And if you noodle with it, you can find a great middling point for that if you like. But I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I'm just going to go ahead and hit OK. I'm going to right click this and convert that to smart object so it's all one piece. Hold Control and click the image of that, and then come down here to my my group of all of my lines. I'm going to right click and select inverse, and then I'm going to mask. And then we're going to come over here, right click our chunky color post, and we're going to convert this back to layers. Boom. And I'm going to turn my effects off. So now basically I just can see through that point, and I have lines. And you can smooth them out if you want, but I am not going to be too terribly precious with it today. And I am just going to, let's see, kind of group these together and call this title, so I know where that is. So now I have a little lined, interesting kind of wavy banner, which I think is interesting. And the next thing we're going to do, how are we doing on time? We're doing good. Not too many chunks. Not clever notes. Yes, it's either to zoom in with the mouse wheel, I suppose, but my mouse wheel is set to move things up and down. And I am very quick with my hotkeys with my left hand over here on my keyboard, and so that just works better for me. But you do you. Don't force yourself to use the shortcuts and things that I use unless it's going to really better your workflow. Don't force yourself into a box and make yourself do things differently that's gonna, you know, kind of mess you up. If you like the mouse wheel, that's what you should do. Now the next thing we're going to do is we can use, like, kind of explore the shape tool and create ourselves some interesting shapes. And again, we are going to do this quickly, but this is going to give you the information that you need to kind of explore this for yourself. So I'm going to use the polygon shape tool, and I am going to change this to a red because I like our red color. Okay. And then I am going to make sure there is no stroke on it because I don't want a stroke. Boom. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to look at all of these different settings we have to give this some more detail. So I'm going to crank this up to maybe a 14, 12 or 14, boom, just to give us some more sides. And then I'm going to pull these sides in because we are going to make ourselves like a little starburst, okay? And then I'm going to round the corners just slightly so that everything is round and nice. And then I'm going to Control T, and we are going to just resize this. If I can resize this, hold on. I'm going to resize like so. I'm holding Shift and Alt to resize from the corners, but also resize to the perfect ratio. And I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm going to center it underneath our little post. Boom. Okay, so we've got our little starburst. I think it's pretty cute. And I'm going to go ahead and duplicate it and kind of drag it out and make some little starbursts right next to it because I think that would be kind of cute. And you can noodle with whatever kind of shapes and things that you like for yours. Spend a little more time on it than I'm spending on mine because this is something that you can make some pretty cool stuff with this, but you kind of have to get a feel for what looks nice, but this is hopefully going to give you the tools you need to know how to make the elements so that you can spend more time than 30 minutes kind of making something look lovely. So we've got that. And then another thing that we could do if we wanted, is we could kind of come in with the triangle tool. I'm going to go ahead and hold Shift just to make ourselves a perfect triangle. And let's fill it with our red that we like. And let's come in here. I'm going to make sure that this is unlocked. Actually, let's lock it for now first. Let's round these corners, and it's going to make our triangle look like a circle for a second. But then let's unround this, and let's come over to the height, and let's bump this height up because I want to make, just like a very rounded, elongated triangle shape. And what I might do is transform it and just bring this side in like so, okay? And I'm going to turn it on its side. I'm holding Shift to kind of snap it. And this is something that may or may not look cool, but we're gonna go for it. We're gonna go like this. We're gonna make a little, it kind of looks like a candy corn. We're gonna duplicate it, and we're gonna turn this, boom, right there. Oh, you know what? I've got a stroke on it. I do not like that stroke. Let's turn that stroke off. Boom. Off. Okay. Now we'll duplicate it. Let's make a little tiny candy corn shape. Let's do that. Let's make this small. Let's turn that, and let's throw that right there. Boom. And then I'm going to duplicate that one, and I'm actually going to flip vertical because I want it to be a vertical mirroring of this. Okay. Let's bump that down just a little bit. And I'm going to select both of these, and I'm going to, oops, if I can, let's group those. And let's transform that group, and I'm just going to back them up. Boom. So now we have like a kind of an interesting little, let's group all of these together. Now we have kind of an interesting little burst. I don't know, just kind of spitballing some interesting ideas. We can duplicate that, rotate it around, holding Shift to make sure it snaps, and throw that over there, just to give you some ideas of some cool designs you might be able to experiment with if you are so inclined. And then I'm going to keep the Lorem Ipsum chunky post. I'm going to come over, hit V on my keyboard for my move tool just so I can easily select the layer that I want to go to. That's a good trick. If you hit V on your keyboard to select your move tool and you just click an element that is on your canvas, it will take you to that layer. So I want to go to this layer. I'm going to hide this. And I am going to, with my text tool, I'm just going to drag out a little text box because maybe there should be more text down here, So we've got kind of an interesting vibe going. I think that it needs some work. It needs some love and attention, but still interesting. And so now we've got, we've gone over the waving, we've gone over designing interesting elements that you can use to design a post, placing in some different kinds of text. And now we're going to do some, I guess we can kind of jump into the background because I do have some shapes back here for you, which I created much the same way. The star shapes are custom shapes that I have made that you are free to use however you like. But the sun shape I made exactly like I made, you know, the starburst here. So if you wanted to, you could come back here and you could, you know, move these around. You could bring some to the forefront and change their color if you wanted to, however you like. If you want to incorporate those into the design, if you want to bring some of these stars up here and make them red, whatever you want to do. And then we're going to change the color. We've got a few minutes here and I'm going to show you how to do a recolor. So this is our content. Everything is in this same folder because we kind of worked with what we had here, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to duplicate, or I could just turn this into a smart object since you can convert smart object back to layers. So I'm going to convert to smart object. So now we have everything here. And I'm going to duplicate this and I'm going to rasterize it because things need to be rasterized in order to use our color replace function. So I'm going to call this chunky, let's call it chunk post 1. That's what we're going to do. And I'm going to come up here to image adjustments and replace color. So I can come in here, let's sample this red color, okay? And everything is exactly the same color of red and everything is like big and chunky, so there's not going to be a lot of difficulty selecting anything here. So we've got our entire thing selected and we can come in here to this hue, okay? I actually like that orange. That's pretty cool. So I'm going to leave the orange. I'm going to say, okay, that's a cool one. I'm going to duplicate this with Control or Command J. I think we need like a foresty green one. And this is something that can help you, you know, whether you're making a post or perhaps you got a job with a client and you have to design a label, you know, and that label needs to have differing flavors, maybe if it's like a beer or a snack or whatever you're doing. This is kind of a really easy way to replace the color of something like this. You could even do kind of a selected mask or a object selection or some sort of fancy mask and change the color of clothes or t-shirts for a mock-up or whatever you want. But this is an easier way to kind of digest this new information if this is a first that you are using it. Let's kind of take this saturation down and let's take the color down because I want like a dark green. But yeah, you could use that for a lot of different kinds of work. Let's go ahead and do a green. And I think we have just a few minutes left here. So I'm going to go ahead and continue just to make some versions of this. Let's go ahead and do number 3. And what's a good color? Do we need, I feel like we might need to do like a blue. What do you guys think? The select a layer through clicking with the move tool. Interesting, yeah. It was a sad day when I opened my project and all of my stars were gone. Oh no! Well, you have star shapes in the starter file now, so feel free to use them. In fact, if you guys wanted to use them for a personal project of yours, they are custom shapes that I have made myself, that I have used in projects of my own, and they are yours to have. So if you would like to utilize them for other things, you have my permission. I'm going to go ahead and do another one. I think we need a blue, like I said, so I'm going to kind of, oops, there we go. Ooh, I like that blue. Maybe slightly more saturated. Let's see. Bring the saturation down, bring the color down. Maybe we can like verge it on like a purple. Ooh, I like it. Scratch the blue, we're doing purple. So yeah, now we have several different iterations of, you know, an interesting post that we have created. So I like this. This is a very interesting and fun and very quick kind of way to jump in and change the colors of something real quick so you don't have to select and then try to paint bucket in like I have done before. I suppose you could also use a clipping mask for this, but this is something that I like to do because it's very, very quick. I don't have to go hunt for a color and then paint bucket it in and then clipping mask it and then see if I like it. I can just do it all right there in the sliders in that menu, and it's actually a lot quicker. So I would imagine you can mask those layers. You could, yeah, you could. In fact, if you folks if you do one of these challenges and you think to yourself, well, you could also do it this way, you should do it that way, and you should post it and let us know your alternate method. I would love to see. Um, the purple yellow contrast is really cool. Yeah, I like it pretty well. But that is all the time I have for you today. I do have to take off. I adore you folks. Thank you all very much for joining me. Happy designing, and I will see you actually next week, early in the morning on Monday. Can't wait to see you folks again. We will jump into challenge number 5. You will have challenge number 2, and I will talk to you later. Adios, everybody.